stop. Sherry.
So much. I'm Anita Blanton, your host, and I'll be with you through 4 p.m. So let's talk a little bit about some of the things that are coming up, what we've lined up for this first hour together, shall we? A new documentary premiering at the Museum of the Gulf Coast is diving into growing evidence that great white sharks are making a comeback in the Gulf waters. We have the award-winning wildlife journalist, speaker, and content creator behind it on the show today. Looking forward to that conversation. Also, politicians and restaurants. You don't want to miss my conversation with the Chicago Sun-Times Watchdogs reporter about Illinois politicians spending millions in campaign funds on meals. Sometimes some pretty swanky restaurants and sometimes not so much. I mean, if you're wondering just a bit of a taste of what they found roughly $900,000 was spent by campaign funds over the last 2 decades at Harry Caray's. $900,000. We're going to break down some more of their findings coming up shortly. But first, with GLP-1 medications just, exploding in popularity. Things like Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro, there's a list. They are continuing to surge in their popularity, and emergency veterinarians are seeing growing concerns now around accidental pet exposures and medication mix-ups even at homes. So the medical director and emergency vet at emergency veterinary care centers is zooming in to talk about what they're seeing, what to watch out for, what to do if it happens. Dr. Lori Ross is here with me now. Thank you so much for being here. Dr. Ross, can you hear me? All right, we're going to work on that really quickly so that we could try to bring her into the discussion. Dr. Ross, can you hear me?
Hi, yes, I can.
Hi
How
there.
Are you?
Doing very well. I'm except kind of concerned about this with so many homes having these GLP-1s, now in them. What are you all seeing? What are you hearing?
As you know, it's a very popular topic. As far as what happens with pets and GLP-1s, they're getting into them by chewing on the pens, accidentally giving this medication instead of the pet's insulin. They can cause hypoglycemia, low blood sugar, lethargy, vomiting, diarrhea.
Oh my goodness. Accidentally using the syringe for a GLP-1 when you're supposed to be using the pet's insulin?
Yes. Yeah. So we always recommend to keep all your medications separate. If they both go in the refrigerator, you need to have separate containers labeled properly. In case this does accidentally happen, obviously you want to contact the emergency clinic right away.
Oh my goodness. All right. So yeah, what happens if a pet ingest this stuff? I mean, what are the possibilities? Obviously, I would think of the worst case, but what are some of the things that could happen?
Cases are usually mild, vomiting, diarrhea, lethargy, decreased appetite, of course. At emergency veterinary care centers, we have not seen a GLP-1 case, but what we are seeing is some of the other supplements. The 5-HT tryptophan supplements, the xylitol, which is the sugar substitute. That one is very dangerous for pets. That can cause dangerously low blood sugars and even liver failure in dogs.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. And, when we are, do a lot of people keep their dog medications next to their medications?
You would be surprised. Yes, it seems to be somewhat of a routine to separate the medications. I'm going to take mine, I'm going to take the pet's, and you accidentally put it in a pill pocket and give it to the dog instead of taking it yourself. Accidents happen. That's why we're here at Emergency Care Veterinary Center. So, if that happens, just give us a call and we can walk you through next steps.
All right. So you realize you've made the mix up. And you said give you all a call, but how quickly do people need to act? The things that you described that could go wrong, what is the turnover time in terms of, okay, if I hop on it immediately, things could go better than others?
Yeah, absolutely. You want to be as quick as possible. We can get you in and assess the pet. If it is something that you don't realize right away, but then you're like, wow, vomiting, diarrhea, maybe something did happen. Don't wait. Give us a call. Again, we can walk you through next steps. We can get you in, get you seen, go through all the possibilities, and get your pet feeling better.
What do you all do once they're in your care? Once we get to you, what are some of the things you do to try to, whittle down or weed out the possibilities?
We take a thorough history always. What medications are in your house? It's very helpful if you have a list of all the medications that could possibly be in your home that we could actually call Animal Poison Control Center. That way we get to speak with a toxicologist. They tell us what ingredients are going to be harmful to your pet. If they do come in and they have signs and Animal Poison Control walks us through, we can give them something to stop the vomiting. We can give them fluids. We can keep them in the hospital, monitor their blood sugar, make sure that they're safe to go home.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned that you all haven't seen many of these specific cases from like GLP-1s, even though it's a very popular topic right now. But what are some of the things that you all see often, especially this time of year, that maybe we can alert people to?
Well, it's getting warmer, so we always, unfortunately, can see cases of heat stroke. Never, ever leave your pet in the car. It can get very warm very quickly, even on cool days like this. It can get very warm in that car. So, unfortunately, that's what we're seeing mostly.
And time-wise, again, if you do get out of your car and the dog is there, I mean, how quickly can things take a turn for the worse for the dog?
Yeah, so on a 70-degree day, within 10 minutes, it can get up to 85 degrees in the car. On an 80-degree day, within 10 minutes, it can get up to 100 degrees in the car. So it does not take very long. And that is an absolute emergency. You do not want to wait. If you notice that your pet is panting, even on some of our walks on the hot days, if you notice that your pet is panting, lethargic, really not acting right, get them in right away. That's most important.
And we talked a lot about like indoor exposure to certain things. Are there some outdoor exposures that you see more often this time of year during the summer months?
Yeah, absolutely. Taking our pets to the beach. Anything can be on the ground, and dogs are really good at picking it up. If you're playing ball with a dog and they're on the beach, they can actually ingest enough sand to cause an obstruction, cause vomiting, diarrhea. Sometimes we even have to do surgery on these pets. So be careful when you take your dog. Have fun, but be careful.
Wait, you've had to do surgery on the dogs for getting too much sand in their mouths?
Yeah, in their bowels, it can obstruct them. Yeah, if they are interested in something that's dropped on the ground, like a piece of food or underneath a grill, and they're getting those greasy drippings, they can actually ingest enough sand to cause blockage.
Oh my goodness. And then you made me think, I mean, when you talked about grills, about how many, barbecues and things of that nature happen, and you've got a lot of people out there, or even, we're coming up on times of the year when people might have fireworks. Maybe walk us through some of those other summer challenges for our pets.
Yeah, so Memorial Day is coming up. Everybody's going to have the day off. We're going to have barbecues. Be aware that pets are very good at getting into things that they should not. So if you need to keep your pet up while you're grilling, we don't want them to ingest any bones, any fatty meats. We don't want them getting burned potentially. Fireworks is a great case. 4th of July happens on the 4th of July every year. If you know that your dog is afraid of fireworks, give your veterinarian a call beforehand. Get them set with some medications that can help ease their anxiety. Don't wait till the last minute, but if you do, we're here for you.
What are some of the things that you give dogs for anxiety?
We can give them a medication called trazodone. It helps lower that anxiety. But there's also things that you can do at home. Again, if you know that your pet gets anxious with fireworks or loud noises, thunderstorms, for example, put them in a dark, quiet room. You can turn the radio on for them or the television. Give them familiar smelling blankets. These things are all comforting to them.
And I'm just asking you this because we've had so many conversations recently about these dogs that are being rescued from Ridgeland Farms in Wisconsin. And I was looking at a video that I literally just talked about it before we started this broadcast, where they are suffering extreme anxiety, like because of the things that they've been through before, getting with caretakers who are going to be a part of the process of them healing and getting in better homes. If you have an animal that is suffering from extreme anxiety, what are the things that can, help them along that way? If you get a rescue, a lot of people are going to be getting these dogs. So if you get a rescue, what are the things that you should be doing to try to heal that anxiety?
You have to be patient. Anytime a dog comes from a situation, you saw these dogs didn't even walk on grass. So you're going to have to be patient and go at their pace. Things that might not seem to be triggering will maybe be triggering for them. Work with your primary care veterinarian. If you need medications for a short period of time or long term, they can help you decide what is best. Working with a behaviorist, there are veterinary behaviorists out there. Making sure that you have a routine. That's so important to these pets. Do the same things at the same time every day. They get used to it. They expect it. Try not to break that routine.
And when you said working with a behaviorist, is there a, the old saying of, can't teach an old dog new tricks? Like, is there a set age where these things work better or won't work at all?
Obviously the puppies are more responsive, but we do see great strides with the dogs that we work with routinely. You really do have to be consistent. I think that's the most important thing. You can teach an old dog new tricks, but they also have to teach us, right? We have to be responsive to what they're going through. And if we are seeing something that we are approving, we need to reward that. It might not be exactly the behavior that we're looking for, but it's something else, and rewarding that and going forward with that consistent care is helpful.
Is that a months-long process, year-long process?
It could be lifelong, honestly. It really can be. Again, these pets unfortunately have grown up in areas that are not ideal, and they can be triggered at any time in their life.
Well, at least they're in a better territory now. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for sharing your advice. We've got a lot of things that are coming up, so we covered a lot of ground here, I think, to help pet owners and soon-to-be pet owners as well. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Take care. Have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
It's 1:13, everyone. Give us 2 minutes and we'll get to our next discussion here on the show. We're going to bring in our own Casey Cronus. She's working on quite the story today about an eel, E-E-L, an eel in the river. right. It's 1:16 right now. And on Reddit, there are so many different types of discussions that happen about different things that are going on around Chicago and the area. But this is quite unique. There is a man who allegedly pulled an eel from the Chicago River, an American eel from the Chicago River. It's Casey Cronus' story for the day. So, Casey, what have you found out thus far?
Hi, Anita. We just spoke with that River North man who pulled the eel from the river about a week and a half ago. He's an avid fisherman. He moved to the city a couple of years ago from the suburbs and says that he takes the winter off from fishing, but he spends about 9 months of the year fishing about once a week. So he knows what he's doing. He likes to go fishing along the Riverwalk in River North, and that's where he and a friend were about a week and a half ago when they were setting out to find another carp. He had just fished about a 20-pound carp just days before. So they said, let's head back out and see if we can make a similar catch. They didn't pull a carp out. Instead, they pulled out an eel. Now, at first, they said they didn't know what exactly it was. He was hesitant to pull it from the water because he thought it was a snake. They took some pictures of it. They put it into AI, asked, what might this be? His friend had thought he thinks it might be an American eel. Turns out it was. And there is an image of it after they pulled it from the Chicago River, confirmed to be an American eel. Now, what's so wild is that these fish, they actually are born in the Atlantic Ocean and they migrate to freshwater bodies of water. But it's rare for them to come all this way to the Chicago River. There's been very few instances where an American eel has been found in the Chicago River. And we will be chatting in about an hour with friends of the Chicago River to talk more in depth about just how unusual this is. But it turned out to be quite the catch. And yes, he did return it to the river after taking some photos and videos of the American eel.
That was absolutely going to be my next question. Is it alive? Is it dead? Okay, so it's still alive.
It is still alive. He said that pretty much all of the fish he catches, he returns to the Chicago River, which is standard practice. It's good practice for those who are fishing along the river. And he said, what he thinks that this speaks to is the health of the river, that he has seen more species of fish in the Chicago River. And he says perhaps that finding this American eel shows that they can survive in places like our river, which has been over the years getting cleaner and getting healthier for those fish.
Yeah, and I think we reached out to Friends of the River. They say the exact same thing about the health of the river improving. And then I guess it opens up the possibilities of what we could find next or what we don't even know about what's in there.
Yeah, what else is in the river? We have no idea. And I guess it's possible that some other fisherman fishing pulls out this same eel. There's no way to really tag the fish like we do with those piping plovers. They have those little tags, they can be tracked. But hey, perhaps another fisherman will end up finding this same American eel, but it is, alive and well, swimming along in the river.
Yeah, because you wonder if we did have a way to track it, would it go back to an area where there's a bunch of them and we've only seen one, but maybe there's a bunch? Or is it a lone ranger here?
Right. And we'll ask Friends of the Chicago River, what does it eat? How is it surviving? We do know, based on some research, that eels, after they have lived out most of their lives in freshwater bodies of water, they actually oftentimes return to the ocean where they die at the end of their lives. So really a fascinating life cycle. And this eel potentially traveled thousands of miles to get to the Windy City.
Oh my gosh. And I would like to also know if they could figure out the age, since you're talking about the life cycle, if we could figure out the age somehow by looking at it. Is this like a baby and there's mama eel off somewhere? Or is this one of the older ones that may be getting ready to go to an ocean?
Yes, and we will ask Friends of the Chicago River when we chat with them. Eels typically are about 1 to 3 pounds, I read online, as adults. This specific American eel, about 1 to 3 pounds. So perhaps by looking at these images, we will get a better idea from our experts of what stage of the life cycle this fish is in.
Yeah, and then listen, I have so many questions in my head. Even, is there a way to tell that this eel was in the river naturally, or if it like came from something else and somebody put it in there?
That's another good question, because we've done stories like that in the past where snakes or other creatures have been found in places where they shouldn't be. And it turns out to be that someone had a pet and that they've released it in a place that they should not have released a pet. So that is another great question, Anita, that we will ask our expert when we chat with her in about an hour. Is it possible that this was someone's pet and that they put it in the river, or was this totally natural?
Yeah, I mean, if they found out that like that eel had been in there for decades or something, it would just change our whole perspective.
Yeah,
you know, you think about the fact that they've started doing the you know, the triathlon, the river
and the swimming and the
like,
yes. And he said, Ben, who found the eel, he said it was actually so hard to get out because it was so slippery. So imagine if you did that river swim and something bumped up next to you. No, thank you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. They'd have to come get me out the river.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Just even the thought of that, you just sent my mind. Oh goodness. So, I mean, for this fisherman, you said he had pulled up carp before. I mean, what kind of a fisherman is he? Like, what kinds of things typically outside of the carp does he have more fish tails?
He does. You know, he said he loves to fish when he travels. He would typically fish at ponds and lakes in the suburbs, but since moving to the city, he found that there are so many species in the Chicago River that he's managed to fish. And again, he throws them all back in. But he said this is a hobby that he plans to continue for quite a long time.
Did you look up like what in the circle of life? What would take out an eel? Like, is there something in there that would take the eel out, or is the fresh water like a safe place for the eel, and that's why they go there?
I think it's a safe place for them. That's why most of them tend to travel to fresh water to live out their lives. But we'll hopefully get some more insight when we do chat with our expert about, you know, this eel's journey and what the rest of its life looks like and how long he could or she could potentially be in the river.
Yeah, we need to find out that too. I'm sure because it was, you know, let back into the river. Now we're getting invested in it. Our producer Jim said, like Chonkosaurus. You know, we're gonna start, like, somebody's gonna need a name. You know.
Yes, we should name it. We need to do a contest and the city needs to name this eel.
We had the rat hole, you know, Chonkosaurus. Now we've got an eel on the loose, you know. Who knows what else is in that water?
I know. It's just one of the many mysteries of the Chicago River.
Amen. Amen. There's just a few stories. Thank you, Casey. Yep. We appreciate it. Quite interesting story. So can't wait to see it when you've got it all put together. I cannot wait to hear more from the experts on this.
Me too. Thank you, Anita.
All right. You take care. So many questions, and oh my goodness, now my head is totally on. Like, if you were in the river and then like something like it's a lot to think about. But this is a really interesting topic here because American eels, they say, are found every so often in local rivers connected to the Mississippi. But because of dam building, overfishing, pollution, and other threats, they're much more rare throughout their range, getting to the Atlantic Ocean, from the Atlantic Ocean to the Chicago River, pretty complex So how did this eel get to the Chicago River? We're asking the questions. Block Club Chicago, our friends over there, have been doing great reporting on this as well as they did with Chunkosaurus. So we'll get to the bottom of this. All of these journalists working on this, we'll have to get to the bottom of this. Really interesting stuff. 126. Give us 2 minutes and we'll be back. Welcome, everybody. It's about 1:30 right now, and we're going to talk about politicians and restaurants and some truly big tabs that have been run up here at all different kinds of spots. You think about, the need. Well, could be fundraisers, could be meetings. But when you hear some of the numbers, it might make you scratch your head. Bob Hergeth, he is a Chicago Sun-Times Watchdogs reporter, and I tip my imaginary hat to you for this reporting, sir. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Tell me what made you all even want to look into this.
Well, political campaigns in Illinois, they have to report disclosure statements every quarter pretty much, and they're accessible to the public. The Illinois State Board of Elections actually has a very good database that is pretty accessible, pretty easy to use, not just for reporters, but for anybody in the public. And one of the things I do pretty regularly is just pour through there and look to see what catches my eye. And I just saw a couple of politicians. I wondered whether they were kind of living high in the hog. And so I decided to just pull some thread and look at it more in the aggregate.
Okay. And once you did, let's start to break down some of your findings. Did you find that this was pervasive throughout Illinois?
Well, yes and no. Depends on the politician. It was pervasive within some campaign funds. It seemed certainly. It's not every politician, it's not every campaign fund. And there are legitimate uses for the campaign fund to pay for a meal. If there's a fundraiser, I mean, one political operative said, "Look, we're not gonna raise money with hot dogs in VFW Hall. We need a good spot." And I mean, the spots that are being eaten at, Gibson's and Chicago Cut and Pettorino's and Erie Cafe. I mean, these are good restaurants. It's hard to argue that they aren't, top tier and tasty and all that. It's just a matter of the oversight and the regulation is difficult, right? Because how do you climb into somebody's head while they're sitting at the table, even with like their spouse, let's say, and say, "Oh, this is a political meal," and it's justified therefore under the campaign finance rules? Or is this a date night out, which would not be? I mean, how do you police that? And the answer is it's very difficult. So I just pointed out, frankly, how much money is flowing. It's a lot, almost $2 million over 30 years at Gibson's. And Chicago Cut, for instance, has been open like 12, 15 years. $300,000 has been spent there. Pettorino's, Erie Cafe, Saputo's down in Springfield, some very nice restaurants, and they disclose them as "quote unquote" meals or meetings or whatever. But are some of them being used for personal expenses, which would be not allowed, especially if you're not reporting that to the IRS as personal income? It's hard to say.
Yeah. You made me think of a Whitney Houston song where she's talking about a man cheating, and she says, if 4 of you went out, or 6 of you went out, then 4 of you were feeling cheap. When she looked at the receipt. That difference between a group versus a date night,
Yep.
It's something there.
Yeah.
I mean, when you saw the astounding numbers here, what's going through your head?
Well, it wasn't really that surprising. I mean, I read these reports all the time, and Illinois politicians, not all, but many of both parties, this is not the land of reform, right? I mean, this is the land of, a lot of politicians take advantage of the system. And as we've seen, those who have been caught have gone to prison over the years. But this is pervasive in terms of spending. I did a story with some colleagues about 15 years ago on a similar topic, which was not just restaurants, but also just entertainment, sports tickets. Mike Madigan, who was then the House Speaker, I remember, I think it was Notre Dame football tickets he would spend his campaign money on. So it goes way above and beyond even just food.
Sure.
And the rules are very elastic. If you say it's for governmental or political purposes, and then it's very hard to disprove.
I mean, I guess so, but I mean, you looked back and you could see this adding up over decades.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and also just it's, and there is an argument to be made where, if the legislators are down in Springfield and it's a late night, because they're in session and they have to go out for dinner and they kill 2 birds with 1 stone. So they have a meal and where they're talking business. I mean, that's kind of what it's supposed to be used for. But certain people who maybe have a district representing the south suburbs and they're downtown eating at the swankiest restaurants like every week or two, it's kind of hard to understand what that's about. And I wish I could. The person I'm mentioning never called me back or returned my emails. So yeah, it's a lot of money. And the counter argument too that I've heard from more than one political person is, well, would you rather have me do it with taxpayer dollars? This is not taxpayer dollars, so essentially, who cares? To which I would say, and which I did say in my story, yeah, except that you're raising that money, that campaign money. Fine, it's not taxpayer money, but it's raised by virtue of the taxpayer, because you're in that position to raise the money only because of your taxpayer position, generally speaking. So it is germane to taxpayers, and it also comes from a lot of special interests. Well, why are they giving it? Because they're altruistic? No, they want something. So what do they want? And are you going to give it to them? And are you going to be more likely to give it to them because you're being thrown all this cash?
Absolutely. And you would think that when we talk about campaign funds, even that there would be some kind of timeline. Not that campaign funds could just be used for the life of your time in office.
Yeah, I mean, the campaign funds can be used as long as they're for that stated purpose, governmental political use for the lifetime, as far as I know, of the campaign fund. In fact, I did a story with a colleague, Tim Novak, several months ago, analyzing, those campaign funds that where people can convert them eventually to personal use. There are some older politicians, older campaign funds that are still, as far as I know, grandfathered in under a previous law that allows the money to be converted to private use, personal use at some point. Of course, taxes would have to be paid then, but still, how nice is that? Ed Burke, the disgraced former corrupt alderman, is among those. I mean, at last check, I don't know what it is today, but as of last year, it was a couple $1,000,000 that he was allowed to pocket.
Wow.
And Madigan too, who's still in prison, right? And when he gets out, he will have access to a fair amount of money because of the way things used to be more loosey-goosey than they are now.
And did you compare? I mean, you mentioned how complex our laws are here in the state of Illinois when it comes to these types of things. Like complex, and I mean from an idea standpoint of what we would think versus what's legal versus how it's actually used. Did you do some comparisons with other states, or did you find that this is like uniquely Illinois?
Honestly, no, I did not. I did not make any comparisons. I just looked, within the context and the confines of our rules, regulations, and the information at hand. And then just use common sense. I think, these are restaurants that many of us, maybe even most of us, if we're lucky, we can afford to go to once or twice a year, and there are politicians eating there for whatever the reason, all the time.
I would also wonder, as you were doing this and you're seeing some of the names, I mean, yes, of course, the politicians say that this is all above board, but are any of the politicians that you found really racking up big bills? Are they being investigated generally? Not to say that they have been convicted or even, that there is a, there is a foolproof investigation into them, but have they been looked into for these things?
As far as I know, most of them no, but there is one that's state legislator from Cal City, who's also the mayor of Cal City, Thaddeus Jones, the Illinois State Board of Elections, which is sort of the maintainer of all these records, and their database is the one I referenced, and they regulate political campaign funds as well as elections throughout the state. They got a subpoena, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, for his campaign information. So there has been a federal investigation into his use of money from his campaign. Is it still current? I have no idea. I did reach out to the FBI, and they wouldn't comment. And but and he's Mr. Jones is one of the ones with quite a few expenditures, not only at swanky restaurants but also at Hooters.
Well, quite the addition there. Okay.
Had to get that in.
Okay. Well, I mean, this is really interesting stuff here that you've done the digging on. So we appreciate your great reporting in it. I mean, when you come upon a story like this, so where do you go next? What has your after being able to dig this out of the overall records, and there's so much information there, so many numbers that are flying at you, where does this turn your attention now?
Well, I did also look, and it's referenced in the story sort of toward the end, for those who made it all the way to the end. These are state and local campaigns, so regulated through the state government. But I did look at federal campaign records too, which again covers members of Congress from Illinois. So that would be U.S. senators and U.S. House members. And, there's quite a bit of spending there too, but it's a little bit different regulations, different level of disclosure. So I kind of flicked at that in the story, but it seemed to me, just at first blush at least, that it's a little bit more egregious at the state and local level than at the federal level. But there are still some of the same restaurants and really nice ones like Capitol Grill in Washington, D.C., where some members of the Illinois delegation also have eaten at quite a bit. But yeah, where does it go from here? I mean, I'm just going to keep tabs at on this database and on these reports, because they're an indicator of who's who and what they're doing, and maybe where what kind of politician they are.
Follow the money. I mean, that's what they say, right?
Yeah.
And you would think that, at the federal level, there's much more oversight than there is at the state or local level, which could also play into the difference in what you see or what you're able to find. Are there any politicians who you would say have been the face of calling for reform to these things?
I don't know if anybody called for reform, at least in recent times. Not that I know of. Not in Illinois. I mean, nationally, there's always talk of reining in special interests and spending and fundraising and all that kind of stuff. In Illinois, I mean, there might be some bills floating around, but not that I know of.
So Republicans and Democrats are taking advantage of it. Therefore, no one's really like, put it to a stop.
Yeah. I mean, certainly, in Illinois, based on the State Board of Elections, there are, both parties are shown to have major spending in this way, whether it's allowable or not. I mean, the numbers are up for both, for candidates of both.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. Whatever you get on next, please circle back with us and let us know, because you follow the numbers. And boy, I know that this took a while for you. How long did it take for you to sift through these numbers?
Couple weeks.
Yeah.
Couple weeks.
Thank you for what you do. We appreciate it. Thank you for your time
Thanks
today.
for having me on. I really appreciate it.
All right. We'll see you next time.
Take care.
It's 1:43, everyone. Give us 2 minutes, and then we're going diving with the sharks. .145, and we've already talked about eels in the Chicago River today, and now we're getting to sharks. Not just any kind of shark, but great white sharks Oh, look at that. This is not the Chicago River, everyone. Just want to let you know. In Gulf waters, there's a new documentary, Gulf Great White Sharks, Return of an Icon, that follows researchers, shark experts, conservationists, all of them as they are investigating, this great return. Let's bring in Chester Moore. He is an award-winning wildlife journalist, a speaker and content creator, and more importantly, one of the minds behind this documentary, here to talk more about what they're finding. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. It's always fun to talk great white sharks.
And what is behind you there?
This, yeah, this is like an oversized replica of a great white shark jaw, kind of like maybe the size of Bruce and Jaws, the mechanical shark that we use at outreaches and stuff for kids to take their pictures with. And I thought I'd set it up here for us.
I was a little worried about you for a moment, but okay, all right, let's proceed. Like, what's happening? Tell us about this new documentary, the work that went into it, and what you all found.
Well, I got inspired because great whites were known to be in the Gulf in rare instances, but it was very controversial when a fisherman said, or a diver said they saw a great white. And a friend of mine in 2005 called me from a satellite phone fishing an oil rig off the coast of Texas and saw one and began an investigation. And then a great white shark tagged by the Atlantic White Shark Conservancy named Lebeth popped up on South Padre Island 2 years ago. And me being me, I said, hey, let's make a documentary about great white sharks in the Gulf. And me and my friend Paul Fuzinski went to Cape Cod with the Atlantic White Shark Conservancy. We talked with some of the people at the group O-Search over the years with different stories. And it's pretty incredible to see this shark that's the apex predator, the most famous ocean creature on the planet, coming back into Gulf waters.
Uh-oh, I think we have a freeze there. Oh, okay, we've got you back now. And we've spoken with the folks from O-Search before, and so you said you went to Cape Cod, but I also heard a Texas reference in there. So is that where you all have done the bulk of your work?
Yeah, so I'm based in Texas, and the original account that inspired me was from there. So great whites, O-Search just released a study showing, I think 57 of 92 of their tagged great white sharks in the Atlantic were showing up in the Gulf primarily in winter and spring. So we were able to do the work in Texas and Florida along the Gulf Coast, Louisiana, and then go up to Cape Cod, where kind of the epicenter of that East Coast great white population.
Is that migration surprising to you all? I mean, the location?
Well, it's really interesting that one particular shark, Lebeth, from the Atlantic White Shark Conservancy, went further west at that point than any tagged shark had and showed up 100 yards from the beach at South Padre Island. I mean, you can't go further west in the Gulf than that. And so that's really been interesting, but it really verified what some fishermen and oil rig workers had said. Hey, there are great whites out here, but now there's like all this wonderful scientific search done, like by O-Search, Atlantic White Shark Conservancy, and others. And it's really interesting because the great white shark population was obliterated in the wake of Jaws and a lot of commercial long lining and finning of sharks. And now, because they've been protected since 1997, we're seeing this apex predator come back in larger numbers, it seems like. And maybe it looks like maybe they're reclaiming territory that they were always at, but now we have a way to track them, and we have populations that are more protected than they were before.
Are we finding like the water's temperature is also possibly a part of that? Like maybe one area that didn't get warm by a certain time of year is warmer earlier? Is that a part of it too?
So they're really just into the figuring out they're here. Now let's figure out what.
Uh-oh. I think we're breaking up a little bit.
It looks like it could be just part of the population's seasonal migration.
Okay. Now, tell us a little bit. I mean, even for the oil workers out there, like, how do they know it's a great white? How do they know it's that specific type of shark? What is like indicative? If I'm looking from afar, what says this is a great white shark?
Well, I think everyone who's seen Shark Week thinks they're maybe can identify sharks, but it's the size. I mean, there are of course smaller whites out there, but I mean, great whites are born 4 to 5 feet long. I mean, they're a good sized shark from the get go, but people sort of see that more than any other shark, and there are sharks you could confuse them with maybe a large tiger shark or something like that. But what's been interesting is some of the areas at my GulfGreatWhites.com database that I had old reports from oil rig workers, commercial fishermen, are areas that some of these tag sharks are showing up in the exact same zone. So it kind of shows some of the anecdotal stuff lines up with the science, which is really cool, and also shows that citizens can be part of science by reporting what they see and contributing to this so people have a better understanding. Because if great whites are coming back, that's a good indication that maybe we're doing something right out there with our oceans.
And when you say that, expound on that a little more. What does it mean that we're doing right?
Well, I mean, it was we've had eras where basically we tried to commercially harvest and take out everything in the ocean, and we realized at some point we have to use science to manage our fisheries. And so great white sharks take up to 30 years to be sexually mature. And so it's not like you harvest, a striped bass that, in a couple of years can breed and puts a lot of offspring out there. So by using scientific management, protecting this shark, and also looking at the ocean altogether differently, like it's not an inexhaustible resource. And if there's enough room we have left for this apex predator, that means the things on down the food chain are doing okay to some extent. And the best thing about the great white is the ultimate icon. I call it Gulf Great White Sharks, Return of an Icon. It makes people interested in the ocean. And unfortunately, the only time you hear about the Gulf in news reports is when there's like a hurricane or there's an oil spill. Well, now we have this wonderful thing coming back, and there are plenty of problems in the Gulf. But a good bright spot in our conservation is that we're allowing this great apex species to make its way back here.
All right, so when you're actually putting this documentary together, what types of things did you all do?
Well, the first thing that I did to put the documentary together is me and Paul Fuzinski went and found all the top great white shark and Gulf region specialists we could to interview. Because I can tell you a story as a journalist, but I wanted to talk to the scientists and those. So we got Dr. Guy Harvey, we had Dr. Greg Skolmall, we had Dr. Megan Winton, we had Derek York from the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department, and we got their feedback. And then we talked with those people who had had encounters. And then we got to go up to Cape Cod and film with the Atlantic White Shark Conservancy and follow a couple of great whites that were tagged around with their team while they were doing a drone study, which the little 5-year-old me who saw Jaws and wanted to get interested in sharks, that's like dream come true stuff right there. And we did skip over to Martha's Vineyard and film a segment in front of the Jaws Bridge. Couldn't resist that. And it was a labor of love, because I tell people there's not a moose week, there's not a deer week, but there sure as heck is a shark week, and the star is always the great white. And we want to use this to inspire people. And my friend Dr. Megan Whitten from Atlantic White Shark Conservancy has a group. In a ministry outreach that I have. And we had some of those kids on the documentary, and we also wanted to let them know if they wanted to take part in ocean conservation or wildlife conservation, they could be an agent of change, and maybe an interest in something like the great white shark would be the starting point.
Now, you mentioned people encounters. You talked to people who had encounters. Do you think, because of what we're seeing, in terms of the waters improving, that we will have more human encounters with these sharks now? Oh, I hope we didn't lose them. Oh, I wanted to pick his brain.
I mean, I think we're already seeing, for the most part. Okay, hold on. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
Let me move.
I can hear you now.
Hello?
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
All
so
right,
so I was asking about.
Something's going on with my signal.
It's all right.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. I was asking about whether you thought there would be more human encounters now.
Yeah, we're seeing a little bit of that in Florida. For people who are scared of them, the good news is most are out in the winter, early spring, and so there's not as many human encounters, and most are far offshore. But there is a pocket of area in Florida where people are seeing more, divers are seeing some, fishermen are catching some, and stuff like that. And if, people just need to realize that they are an apex predator, don't tempt fate. But most of the movement's further offshore, except pretty much in the area of Florida, and a couple of other things. They're a mysterious shark because for years people thought they were primarily like a coastal species, but there's tagging data showing these things go out in like 3,000 feet of water. So still a lot left to learn about them.
Yeah. Do you think we still have a lot of misconceptions, or we're essentially changing the narrative?
I think there are a lot of misconceptions. My trip with AWSC in 2024, we're looking at great whites that were 12 feet long right on the beach. And there were like dudes surfing down not too far from there. And, there's not a lot of attacks. I think there's maybe been one attack on Cape Cod, and I don't know how long. One is a tragedy. It's a human tragedy, of course. But, when you look at the volume of people in the water to the number of shark attacks, there's a lot more dangerous things like rip currents and things like that than sharks. But what I like they've done in Cape Cod, they have sort of a safety system. Someone sees a shark, a flag goes up, people learn about what's in the water. And the real thing here is just people to be educated, informed, and, and realize that they were here a long time in those oceans before we were.
It is their home first. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Where can people see this documentary?
All right, right now they can actually go up to my YouTube channel, Chester Moore Wildlife Journalist and Investigator, or just go to GulfGreatWhites.com. There's a link called Documentary, and they can check out our blog and a sightings database there as well. And I just want to thank you for having me on talk about this, and salute the great work of people like the guys at OSearch, Atlantic White Shark Conservancy, all those great scientists out there, filling us shark-loving kids out there with great information.
Thank you so much for your time. You be safe out there.
Thank you.
All right. 1:58, everyone, and our lead sports anchor is here now. So give us 2 minutes, and we're going to talk a lot about the Bears coming up. Welcome back, everyone. We're in our second hour here on Chicago Live, and we have Cassie Carlson who is with us. One thing that I love about being around a winning team is that everything turns into a party. We had the draft party, and now it's the schedule release party.
They might as well make this a national holiday at this point. The build up to Thursday, or as soon as they release the date, they usually do it like a week before.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, oh my gosh, strap in, 7 o'clock, tune in everywhere. We got to figure out what the Bears' schedule is going to be. And obviously, a couple years ago, it really started with the teams doing those schedule release videos.
Yeah.
They got into like these full movie productions. And so it is an exciting day. And for us in sports, like it does pretty much plan out our entire August through hopefully February. So it is a lot of anticipation, a lot of excitement. And so it's a fun day as all the leaks are out right now.
Yeah, I was going to say, there were so many rumors about things. Are we starting to get any confirmed information, or do we have to wait a little bit longer?
So everything officially gets released at 7 o'clock tonight. The ones that are confirmed so far for the Bears is they will be playing at Detroit on Thanksgiving, and they will also be playing against Green Bay here on Christmas Day. So there go the holidays, or everyone's like, either you don't have to think of holiday plans because you already have them, but it's always fun. I'll go through what has been leaked so far.
Okay.
So again, not confirmed, but a lot of these, they're on Twitter and everything. So week 1, they are going to be opening at Carolina. Week 2,
let me stop you, because that was already pretty surprising, because so many people said, oh, it's going to be Seattle.
There was a lot of rumors that they were going to head to Seattle, so that's going to be the Wednesday opener, and it seemed like the perfect matchup. You know, Chicago being a big market, heading to go play out west against the reigning Super Bowl champs, but it's going to be Seahawks Patriots, so a Super Bowl rematch in Week 1. Which is interesting that they wanted to put that mega game right up top, but it kind of makes sense too when you think about just eyes and draws, storylines going into that game.
And is that a part of the decision-making process?
I don't know, but I would have to imagine. I would have to imagine if you're opening the season in prime time on a Wednesday, you want the biggest game that's possibly out there.
Okay.
So week 2, hosting the Minnesota Vikings, that would be their first division game. Week 3, hosting Philadelphia, Monday Night Football. We all remember how that went on Black Friday last year when the Bears beat Philly. Week 4, New York Jets. I'm guessing that's hopefully a noon Fox game. If you go week 5, they're at Green Bay. So this is interesting. So they're playing on the road at Green Bay first. This one, I think, when you talk about do they strategically plan when some of these games are, I would have to imagine yes, because we know Micah Parsons is rehabbing back from an ACL injury. He's not supposed to be ready for the start of the season. Wouldn't be surprised if he makes his season debut against the Bears week 5. Week 6 at Atlanta. Week 7, they're going to host New England for Thursday Night Football. So there's their other Super Bowl opponent from last year. Then that Seattle game is going to be following that on the road for Monday Night Football the week after that. That's week 8. So they're going to go New England, then Seattle back to back. And then they have another primetime game week 9 against Tampa. That's Sunday Night Football. Their bye week, according to these leaks, doesn't come till week 10. That's a lot later than last year when they had it week 5, which was very early. Week 11, New Orleans. Week 12, that's Thanksgiving in Detroit. Week 13, they're going to host Jacksonville. Then week 14, they head to Miami, so they get some warm weather. And then week 15 at Buffalo, Saturday game. So Buffalo Bills, their new stadium, Highmark Stadium, that's going to be a Saturday game in December. Obviously, probably going to be snow on the ground at that point.
Did you say it? New stadium?
They have a new stadium. Don't bring that up on schedule release day.
Who has a new stadium?
Yeah. That's in like the next 2 weeks probably for the Bears. Then Green Bay on Christmas. That's a Friday. Week 17, hosting Detroit, 325. And then they're going to end the regular season week 18 at Minnesota.
Man.
So that's a lot of information right there. I'm reading it off my phone because I'm not going to pretend like I have it memorized.
Nor would we expect you to have it all memorized today.
But some notes, like the max primetime games you can get is 7, and they have 7. That's really no surprise coming off of the season they had last year. It's a big market. The NFL loves when the Bears are good, and so they were going to get the max of primetime games. One thing else that stands out is the 3 straight division games to end the season. So they'll go Green Bay on Christmas, Detroit week 17, at Minnesota week 18. So when there's division standings on the line, those games are going to be really important and really intense. The back-to-back Super Bowl teams in prime time from last year. And then they open on the road, and then they're at home for 3 straight games. So there's a couple mini buys in here, which, you know, we talk about the week 10 buy. That's kind of in the middle of the season. I think that's pretty fair. Week 5 was early last year. It ended up playing in the Bears' favor because they were able to make those adjustments.
Exactly.
But I do think, like, with week 10 buy, and then there's a mini buy after week 8. So they'll play Monday Night Football. Or they'll play, from week 7 to week 8, there's a mini bye. So they'll play Thursday Night Football, then they'll have Monday Night Football the next week. So that's like you get a couple extra days. And then there's another mini bye following the Thanksgiving game. So it kind of gives you some time, like 10 days to regroup rather than just a straight week. So those are some of the notes. It's always fun to analyze everything.
Yeah, and I mean, I have to ask, like, what are your feelings after kind of at least looking over what's been leaked so far? What are the feelings that you're having about how this could shape up for us?
I think it's a pretty fair schedule. I think you could argue the Carolina opener is boring. But it's Carolina, Bryce Young, former first overall pick. They went to the playoffs last year. That's an up-and-coming team. I think it's a very winnable game, which is always good in week 1. And that's kind of a tune-up for your first division game against Minnesota. They're going through a quarterback controversy right now. Is it going to be Kyler Murray, which everyone believes it's going to be, or will J.J. McCarthy suddenly mature and, you know, become the QB1? But I don't think anyone believes that's going to happen. Thursday night or Monday Night Football against Philly in week 3. That's going to be a tough test. You know, Philly went through its ebbs and flows last year, but they're always a good team. They might not have A.J. Brown, so they're down a receiver at least. Week 4, New York Jets. That should be a win. At Green Bay, you just never know with those games. Green Bay is going to have the Bears circled. Ben Johnson has turned this into quite
Get the cheese graters out.
The cinematic rivalry. And if Micah Parsons returns, you know that they're going to have
huge.
They're going to have so much juice heading into that game, and plenty of bulletin board material. I'd like to imagine Ben Johnson, the way we know his mind works, is going to have something cooked up for that game as well. Atlanta should be a win. New England, Seattle, those are going to be tough games. Tampa's always a good team in the NFC. New Orleans should be a win. Detroit, you know, the Bears went 0-2 against the Lions last year, and I think the Lions are going to be a better team this year because of what they've poured into their offensive line. They have so many weapons. They're just a really solid team, really well coached. And so we also know that Thanksgiving 2 years ago is when Matt Eberflus failed to call a timeout, and then he was fired the next day. So hopefully the Bears can rewrite those Thanksgiving scripts in Detroit this year, and Ben Johnson gets his first win against his former team. Jacksonville is another playoff team. Trevor Lawrence, they're going to have a second-year head coach who's an offensive-minded coach, and Liam Cohen. Miami should be a win. I'm going through this, and I'm not keeping track of how many wins I'm saying. Buffalo is going to be really tough. I mean, Buffalo is always good. Josh Allen, DJ Moore now on that team. Again, playing there in December at a new stadium.
Odd to see him.
I know, but he's in a good situation. I mean,
Very.
Buffalo's, they did that on purpose. And then Green Bay on Christmas, you never know with those division games. So I think the line right now is set at 9.5 wins.
Okay.
The thing about how they're talking about the Bears, like obviously they had 7 comeback wins last year. That's not going to happen again. Like the magic that we saw from them simply, I do not believe can be replicated. But on the other hand, you have Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson in year 2 working together. And so there should be an improvement too.
There's also the fact that last year, the expectation wasn't as high.
Right. Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, they overperformed.
They did.
Last year based on what everyone kind of thought in the beginning. And I mean, by the time we saw that Eagles game, you know, that you were mentioning, it was like, oh, now wait a minute. We might ride. We might ride for a while.
Exactly.
So yeah, the expectation is way higher this year.
And players will always tell you, coaches will always tell you that the pressure that comes along with that is a privilege, and that they want, like, that's the situation that you want to be year after year. We're just not familiar with it here in Chicago. I think that's a great point. Like, last year they were the underdog in a lot of these games. Now they are simply going to be the hunted. And similar to what we were talking about with Ben Johnson putting a target on his back and the Bears' back with the Packers, a lot of teams are going to feel that way about this team because, like, it's not only because they won games last year, but like the intricacies of the coaching circles,
how they did things,
and Ben Johnson says something that ticks off Matt LaFleur. Well, Matt LaFleur's best friends are guys like Sean McVay. Like, all that starts to play into one another, and so they will be the hunted this year, and we're gonna have to see how they manage to do that.
Even the fact that, like, you know, there was so much conversation about you know, the bag of tricks. Well, is it a trick to people now?
So I think that's where we're going to find out about Ben Johnson. I believe Ben Johnson outsmarts a lot of people. If you talk to any of his former players, they're like, the way, like the stumble bum is one perfect example where that was what he did against the Bears back in Detroit, where he fake fumbled and they threw a touchdown because they saw it on tape. I think Ben Johnson is so smart, and he pays attention to all those intricacies that he does scheme against certain opponents, and he'll have things saved and he'll bring them out for certain games, like, oh, I think this is the perfect scheme. And we saw that in the DJ Moore walk-off touchdown. That was a play that he had noticed. They practiced once because they said, if you see this coverage, throw that ball. They practice it once, and then they recognize it in the game. And so I just think Ben Johnson is one of those coaches that's so smart, and the bag of tricks never really ends. But I think if you talk about just, they have the toughest strength of schedule, but that's based off of opponents' winning records last year. They also traveled the fewest miles. Like, that's kind of interesting too, that, like, outside of going out west to Seattle, they don't have many, like, far games to travel to. It's pretty reasonable, and they don't have an international game, so they're gonna have 9 home games, which is big time.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And so I think their schedule favors them in a lot of different ways.
Very interesting. And then you have to also wonder about, you know, what we'll see in terms of where you said it's hard to replicate a season, right? I mean, you don't even have the same team. You don't even have the same player, not all of the same players. So how the new pieces will play into what we see this year. I mean, did they make the right decisions about the pieces that they let go and the ones they added?
I think if you are talking about that, you're really looking at the defense in particular, because that defense is going to look different. They wanted to get faster. I think they accomplished that. They accomplished it mostly, though, at the second and third level of linebackers, bringing in Devin Bush, and then in the secondary, Kobe Bryant, and drafting Dylan Thieneman. And there's some rookies that'll obviously be competing for spots there. The one thing that they didn't address is something we're going to look at the entire season and point to, is the defensive line. And we heard from Dennis Allen for the first time last week after rookie minicamp, talking about how the onus is on him because they focus too much on implementing a new scheme, not coaching the fundamentals, which are important to producing results and getting to quarterbacks. And so I feel like at that point, Dennis Allen basically just said it's on him. So we're all going to be watching him. And so that's like one area that I think that we're going to be like so keyed in on, whether it be production in training camp and then translating it into the season. I think offensively, you actually feel pretty good about the pieces that they have returning. There's some questions on the offensive line, but I think they're good questions. Like, potentially you have Logan Jones, a center who's a rookie just drafted, winning that starting center spot. That'd be a great thing. It might cause some concern because of the inexperience. Left tackle will be still something we keep track of as it's going through another competition. But in terms of like quarterback, check. Skill positions, running back, tight ends, wide receivers, like check. All in year 2 of a system that they should know even better. And, you know, it was high powered at times. I think you want to see them get off to faster starts.
Yes,
but like the biggest things you could ask for is having the right head coach and the right quarterback.
Yeah, you
and
got
the Bears
that.
have that.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why you feel pretty good and pretty confident.
All right. When is the special starting up tonight?
So 7 o'clock, we have the Chicago football release special that is going to be streaming on Fox Local, YouTube. You can even watch it on social media now, which is really cool. So I'll be joined by Tina Nguyen. We have the Scores Matt Spiegel coming into studio, along with Fox Sports Radio's Carmen Vitale. We're basically doing instant reaction to everything live. We're also taking fan questions. So if you have any questions and you're watching on the live stream on YouTube, you can type them in then. You can also go to all of our social medias right now and reply with a question that we'll answer live. And then we have Chicago Sports Tonight at 6, where we're going to be running through all this stuff again. It's really like, it's just so fun to talk about. I mean, it is the day. Like, there's not much else to talk about today because this dominates everything. And so it really has turned it, like, the NFL is they're so smart. They dominate when they want to year round at this point. And so we're going to take advantage of that.
All right. We will see you a little bit later on. Now, you said, you're going to be going over it again and again. So we do expect you to memorize
I'll have it memorized by 7:30. For now, no.
We will see you a little bit later. We'll let you get to working and getting ready for it all. It's 2:15, everyone. Give us 2 minutes. We'll be back. All right, welcome back, everyone. It's 2:18 right now. We hopped right into our discussions here in the 2 o'clock hour because we already had Cassie up here to get into the weather. Just so you know, we're also going to bring up Mark Strell to talk about, wait, did I say the weather? That's what I meant. We're going to bring him up to talk about the weather around 2:45. We were talking with Cassie about the Bears, but we'll also talk to Alderman Walter Redmond Burnett about council's new move to freeze the tipped wage hike. It's been so controversial. The council voted one way, the mayor vetoed it. The council tried to override the veto, couldn't do it. So now they came up with a different way. They put a freeze on it. It's temporary. We'll get into all of that coming up in just a little bit. But we are moving on right now to Zillow suing Chicago area listing service MRED and a brokerage giant Compass this week, accusing them of hiding some listings and colluding to push Zillow out of the market. Serious allegations here, and we have Misha Fisher, the chief economist for Zillow, who also teaches at Northwestern. Thank you so much for being here.
No, thanks for having me. Glad to be with you.
All right, let's kind of walk this back first. I mean, how long have you, as an organization, as a company, how long have you felt that this was happening?
Well, I think it's important first to actually get into what's happening, because I think not everybody's really aware that this is a thing that's happening in the market. Because most of the time, if you're buying or selling a home, you kind of expect to be able to go on Zillow or Realtor or any of the other sites and see all of the inventory that's available. But that's actually been slowly expanding, but there's been a shortage of listings that have not been appearing on those things, and that's been expanding over time. And so what's been happening is some brokerages, in order to drive growth to their specific brokerage or to try and get both sides of the commission transaction and make more money on the deal, have been putting some listings and houses behind a velvet rope and saying, well, you can only see those if you agree to work with us in advance. So it's been happening for a while, and it's something that we've really been pushing back on.
Why sue now, though?
Right now, what's happened is there's been a scheme between Compass, a large brokerage, and the Chicago Multiple Listing Service, known as MRED, to basically threaten to lock us out of seeing what's available unless we lean into their business model in other states. So what they're really trying to do is say, well, our business model is not working in other states because we're not getting enough traffic and people don't, it's not working for consumers and it's not working for home sellers. So let's try and leverage our relationship in Chicago to try and force Zillow to capitulate on this move that's really bad for buyers and sellers.
You said, to look at Chicago at this market specifically. Why this market specifically?
Well, it's become pretty common in Chicago in particular, and we've got pretty good data on the harms it's causing. It's basically, if you're a buyer, there's less to choose from, and Chicago's got a pretty hot housing market in some areas, and so I think that's a pretty frustrating experience for buyers to not know that there's some inventory available unless they have specific connections. And for sellers, it's costing them thousands. And particularly, we've done our own analysis, and you can find case studies that are looking at the impact across certain neighborhoods. And homes that are in predominantly white neighborhoods are more than twice as likely to be in one of these listing schemes. And that's, I'd argue kind of a form of digital redlining that's taking place as well. So it's really ground zero for a lot of the harms that we see of these private listing schemes.
What is the rationale that you hear for them using these means?
Well, the rationale for them is that it's good for the brokerage. It's not good for buyers, it's not good for sellers. But if you're a brokerage and the seller gets a little less and the buyer has fewer options, if you're able to collect both those commissions, that's a good deal for you as a brokerage. So that's the reasoning behind it, I think, for a lot of brokerages.
And what are some of the things that Zillow heard when you all came into the market?
Well, Zillow was really founded on this idea of be a really great experience for consumers. If you go back in time to what buying and selling real estate used to be like, you might have to go around all across town and talk to different brokerages and look through a little book that you couldn't leave the brokerage with to see what houses were available. And what Zillow was really founded on was, let's make sure everybody can see what's available. Let's make sure they've got lots of information. Let's make sure they can make the choices and the trade-offs that are right for them. Buying and selling a house, these are very personal experiences. It's deeply ingrained in the psyche of everybody across the country that home ownership is a part of the American dream, and owning that dream home is something we all seek and strive for. So Zillow was really founded around reinforcing that for everybody, and I think this threatens the ability for people to find that dream home.
And does this have anything to do with the changes to commission for agents?
I think it's got less to do with that and much more about the ability for brokerages to collect both those commissions. And the whole purpose behind real estate agents is that the agent is working on behalf of either the buyer or the seller, and buyers and sellers meet in the middle and they find something that's a really good match for them. When a brokerage steps in and says, well, we want to get both sides of that, it's going to come at the expense of buyers and sellers.
And do you think that that's all buyers and sellers or specific buyers and sellers?
I mean, I think universally across the country, it is not a good deal for buyers or sellers. Some people can be more or less harmed by the overall practice, but markets work when people have all the information available and can meet in the middle and can make the best choice that's available to them. If you give them less information, if you hide inventory, if you limit to just people with particular connections or a willingness to pay potentially this higher brokerage fee or to realize less on their sales of their house, that harms, people pretty universally. Like I said, in Chicago, we see this digital redlining type effect as well, which is a particularly pernicious practice in that city.
And you'll get no argument from me about redlining being, abominable. But this image of behind a velvet rope that's listed here, would some people see that as like a VIP service?
Well, I think sellers have to make a trade-off decision. And if they're making that decision with informed choice, if they really understand the downsides of a premium service, then sellers are free to make that choice, right? Obviously, that's very important, but that's not necessarily the case. I think sellers don't realize that they might be paying quite a lot for that premium service, right? If normally you see the price up front on premium services, but in this case you don't, and in this case, I think people might be caught off guard by how much that's costing them.
Could it also cut down on price wars over certain homes?
It not necessarily, because it depends on how many buyers are still available in that pool. Typically, what you want is as many people as possible to match, right? If you ever go out and home shop, then you know that the decision criteria that you have might be hundreds of things in terms of the attributes of that house and the age of it, the fixtures, the choice of tile, the restaurants nearby. There's lots and lots and lots of things that buyers choose from when they are deciding how much a house is worth. And so if you short circuit that process and you put somebody in the middle that basically splits the market, pulling off 20 or 30% of houses and 20 or 30% of buyers, then it's hard to predict exactly what's going to happen. But economic theory tells us that you can pretty reliably count on the overall market process being worse off for everybody.
Yeah, I would just thought back to like my time house hunting here from across the country, and how, I kind of went through and I said, oh, I'd like to see boom, 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 boom. And in just a couple of days and me getting here, half the list had already had, an offer on them. So, I mean, you would think if the net is smaller, that you don't get into the bidding wars, all of those types of things. That could also be the mentality.
Well, it could be, and then of course, but it doesn't necessarily mean that's how it's gonna play out, because what really drives when you were house shopping is how good is a match for it in the end, right? I mean, did it check all of the boxes for you? And so the bidding war is really separate from that component. It comes down to how many people are in that pool rather than did you shrink the pool.
Mm-hmm. Okay, in this suit, one, how long do you think that this could take to be litigated? And I mean, what ultimately are you all hoping happens from this?
Well, I'm an economist, not a lawyer, so I'll stick to the economics of it. But I think that very clear desire in terms of what is best for buyers and sellers in real estate is having an open market with full access to information and the ability for as many buyers and as many sellers to match each other as possible. Affordability right now is really, really challenged, particularly in Chicago, right? You went through this process with your bidding war. That process is being made worse, and we're undoing some of the gains that we've had in terms of lower interest rates and affordability. There have been a few little gains here, and we're undoing that. If we have a real estate market that is splitting up and fracturing, and people are paying those higher monopoly prices to get access to a specific brokerage's listings.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show and explaining much of what we may or may not be seeing, to your point here. We appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Take care. All right, everyone, it's 2:30. Give us 2 minutes and we'll be back. We're hoping that we'll get Alderman Walter Redmond Burnett coming up next. All right, welcome back, everyone. It's 2:32 right now, and we want to get right to Alderman Walter Redmond Burnett, who is here to talk about a couple of different issues that are really pressing that people are talking about right now. Thank you so much for your time. All right, I cannot hear him. Let's see. Can we hear you now?
Is this any better?
Yes, I can hear you now. All right, wonderful. Definitely want to make sure that we have some volume up so that we can get into these issues here. I want to start with one that has become so controversial. As people around the state really look at it, this sub-minimum wage. And so the council panel now has proposed a freeze. Explain how this would work.
Yeah, this is something that was really important for our restaurants, given the environment that we are currently in economically. Everything from tariffs to increased food costs and gas costs have really increased the amount of money they spend in order to operate their business. And 2 months ago, there was a proposal to completely end the increase to minimum wage across the city and keep it at a tip credit rate of 24% indefinitely. What we worked on over the last couple months was a compromise between all parties to freeze the tip credit at 24% for 2 years and still work towards a ramp to a full minimum wage somewhere down the line. In addition to the 2-year freeze in totality, we gave an additional exception to small businesses with 21 employees or less that will allow them to have a 4-year ramp up or 4-year freeze in order to then continue the curve to a full minimum wage.
So you all see this as a compromise on all sides?
This is a compromise on all sides. The Restaurant Association would love it for the tip credit to remain in perpetuity, and the One Fair Wage Coalition would love for the tip credit to be phased out quickly. And one thing we have to recognize as legislators is the challenge that our current national and international economic situation provides on our businesses. And we've decreased the rate of the tip credit over the last couple of years, and we haven't really had a chance to study what that impact is. Everything we've heard from employers is that in order to survive, they would have to do one of two things, either cut wages or cut the number of hours, cut the number of hours or cut how many people are working. And it's just not prudent for us to have a labor force be reduced by thousands of people, given the circumstances with Medicaid and healthcare and all the the economic struggles we have in our city at this moment.
Yeah, it has been very interesting to see and to hear the very many sides of debate around this particular topic, because the mayor, who received some flack for, appointing you to replace your father, really held fast in his belief that this was saving people's jobs, versus the Restaurant Association that said it would cut people's jobs.
Yeah, and it's a nuanced conversation. In some way, we're saving those who make below minimum wage. We're giving them the opportunity to make a living wage, and that's what everyone wants, right? We want our economy to work in a way that people who do the work are able to produce income that they can survive on. But with restaurant economics, when everything increases by 15, 20%, they have to figure out a way to survive as a business. And if they go too far into the red, then the business closes. And so we have to think about the totality of the entire workforce and figuring out how do we continue to increase the number of employees while still raising the income for everyone at the lowest levels. So it's a nuanced debate, and I hope over the next couple of years, while we have this freeze, we're able to really come to a data-driven solution and understanding about this issue.
Yeah, you mentioned, though, reaction that's likely from One Fair Wage or from the Restaurant Association. Have you heard from the mayor? You all, the council initially, as of this year, not leading up to this year, but this year, the council voted against this. The mayor vetoed that. The council tried to override the veto. That didn't work. And so now this. So have you heard from the mayor?
The mayor and his team has been pretty steadfast about his stance. He wants to make sure that workers get the minimum wage, period, point blank. And so he and the coalition are still fighting for that opportunity and for that right for people to continue to have a livable wage. And I expect him to stay at that position. Now, he has given us word that he's excited that his veto power has brought the council together on something and figured out a way that we can all work together. But I don't think that he is completely happy until the minimum wage is fully met for employees.
Mm-hmm. And you specifically, have you talked to the mayor? He as most politicians do, kind of form a coalition of people that they feel have their back through and through. How does he feel about you siding on this?
Yeah, he understands the position I'm in, right? I represent possibly the most restaurants in the city of Chicago. I actually saw the mayor on Saturday at State Senator Lakeisha Collins' Mother Day event, and we had an opportunity to chat it up. Again, he isn't thrilled about the freeze, but he understands the position that the 27th Ward is in, representing both the restaurants and restaurant workers in this dynamic, and expressed some excitement about the ability that I have shown to replicate my father's legacy of being a coalition builder.
All right. Let's talk a little bit more about your ward, since you mentioned it, and more specifically about the 1901 project, because that has been another big talker here now that a tax break is being mentioned and asked for by the developers. Where do you sit on this?
Yeah, I'm supportive of the tax break because it's really an infrastructure investment. We think about a $7 billion project that the United Center is bringing to the west side of Chicago, the largest of its size for this side of town. And we have to address the point of how do we get that done. Currently, the United Center uses the parking lots for parking when people come to the United Center for games and for concerts. And the next phase is going to require even additional parking and traffic mitigation when it has additional theater and a hotel. And so this first phase is the opportunity to create a parking garage, which doesn't really generate money in the same capacity as the theater or housing a retail or office. And so this tax break, which is $55 million on a $7 billion project, is less than 1% of the total cost of what it means to do this, but it's so critical at this point in stage in order to make sure that the project proceeds. So I'm supportive, not only because I understand how the economics work with this project, but because the United Center have been great community partners. They started the CIC, which has done a ton of great work. They've done subcontracting fairs, they've done workforce hiring fairs, they've communicated with the constituents in the area to make sure that they feel heard, and are looking to tackle some of these larger issues like displacement and investment on the west side of Chicago, and creating a working group to figure out how do we address these issues. And so when you have a partner who's willing to invest that deeply in an underinvested community and make sure that people feel heard, it's important that we support that behavior and make sure that they are invested in as well.
I mean, people have been concerned about gentrification, if we're just calling a thing a thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I grew up 2 blocks away from the United Center. This is my home community. My parents have lived in the same home for over 30 years, and I currently rent on the same block. So this isn't just something that is theoretical for me. This is a lived experience. I would love to stay over here as a renter and possibly owner someday. But I also understand the demographic changes that are happening in our community, and it's been happening before the United Center even puts a shovel in the ground. And so this is a constant conversation we need to have, not just on the near west side, but across the city. How do you reward people who took the chance to move into neighborhoods before they were the hot topic? And it's a conversation we're going to need to have as we build more density, as we know we need to, and we have these unequal economic additions across the city, because we do need to expand and grow, but we need to make sure that people who have stayed in those communities have an opportunity to grow economically with the new growth in that area.
When you talk about unequal economics, though, when property taxes come up as a topic of conversation, it kind of gets to a fever pitch really quickly, because a lot of neighborhoods where people aren't earning that much get hit with extreme property tax increases. And so when they hear property tax cut or a tax break for developers who have millions, it's hard on your hearing. So what do you say to people who question that?
Yeah, I talk about the actual investment that's needed to make sure that these parking lots, which don't contribute much of anything to the tax base, can be developed so that they do contribute to the tax base. The taxes on a $7 billion project is a lot larger than the thousands of dollars that they produce for the parking lots currently. And so what we have to continuously evaluate is, when there's more growth and more density, there's more opportunity for those businesses and folks who have economic sway to pay their fair share. But we have to give them that opportunity to build in order to make sure that they are burdening their development as much as the community, in helping the community pay less in their share.
Mm-hmm. You see the same discussion when it comes, obviously, we were having a talk about the Bears very recently in the mega projects bill. So if we think that it's holding up something that huge, a mega projects bill, you also understand why people would question this or have major concerns with this.
Now, I understand the concerns all across the board, but at the end of the day, cities are growth stocks. I like to compare them to. We need to continuously grow. We need to continuously grow our economy, need to continuously grow our population. And the only way we do that is by making the necessary investments. We need to build the infrastructure and the systems around it to make sure that people want to be here and make Chicago a desirable location. And we all know how amazing the city is, but that takes constant maintenance and constant investment for that to happen. And so I'm happy that the 27th Ward has been a leader in that over the last 30 years, and I hope that we continue to be a leader and help spread some of the wealth across the city of Chicago.
As I understand it, the proposed tax break is expected to face a final vote before the full city council next week. Have you gotten a gauge of where your colleagues stand, whether this is likely to sail through or hit some turbulence?
There have been conversations. Colleagues have been questioning both the tax break and then also how much work is going to get done or participated by stakeholders across the city. This project has thousands of jobs associated with it. And as much as I would love for all those jobs to be in the 27th Ward, it's too large for us to handle alone. So we need stakeholders from across the city to work on it. And so over the last few days, I've been talking to my colleagues about the importance of this project, not only for our ward in the West Side, but for the broader Chicago area. And they seem to understand the impact. And so we really have to communicate what the balance of tax incentive and community engagement and benefit for the city means for everyone. And we'll continue to do that work, and hopefully we get a vote that is positive come next week.
All right, Alderman Burnett, we might have to circle back with you next week, but thank you for your time today.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
Have a good one.
Take care. 2:45, everyone, and our meteorologist Mark Strell just walked in, so give us 2 minutes. We'll bring in a chair and we'll talk a little bit about this weather out there. Welcome back. 2:47. Mark Strell is here on a Thursday.
Yes.
And it's a beautiful day. You brought the sunshine with you.
I didn't bring it. I just told you it was coming.
Well,
Yeah.
we appreciate it either way.
Well,
you know,
yeah, we all
it's
do.
here.
Because in Chicago, we don't have that many cloud-free days.
That's very
I
true.
mean, we have sunny days, but a lot of times they start out with a few clouds or have a few clouds in between, but to have a day like this that is virtually all day long, wall-to-wall sunshine.
Yeah.
Very few and far between. Less than probably 15 to 17% of the time.
Wow. And is everyone experiencing this beauty?
Pretty much, yeah. Right around our part of the Midwest, we're doing pretty good. Clouds are going to return though this evening,
Oh.
and we do have a teeny tiny chance of rainfall later on tonight, and then we have chances of wet weather throughout the 7-day forecast. However, that does not mean we're going to have to build an ark.
Well, thank goodness, because that take a while.
Yes. They
I
usually
heard.
do, don't they?
You know, I heard.
That's the story, right? That's how it goes. We have a lot of dry periods coming up over the next 7 days or so. So there'll be some showers, there'll be some thunderstorms, but we'll still be able to dance around those and get done what you need to do.
All right. Well, we've got plenty that we need to do. Look at all the, oh my goodness.
Look at that.
It's so beautiful
Let's
out
count
there.
the colors, shall we? We've got emerald green and kind of a dusty blue there, but in reality, it's more of a azure blue. That's what I'm going with.
Azure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not
All
sure if that's a
right.
Crayola color, but
Could be.
it's
I
definitely
don't
on the
know.
palette. Here we have some golden browns and some silvery gold. I don't know if that's a color I just made up, by the way.
Yeah, I don't think that's in the Crayola
Silver
bunch
gold.
for sure.
Yeah, that's not there. But a nice day, a really nice day.
It is. When you look out there, you wish that you could just hold on to this. I mean, when I've been saying with JD all week, like, we've seen people dressed in like everything all week, you know, because we've kind of been all over the place. So it's nice to have at least one day where you feel like it's consistently a beautiful day.
Yeah. Right. This is the kind of season, and this is the kind of place that you got to pack a bag in the back of your car no matter where you go, because you could be, in the suburbs and go to the lakefront, and it could be two different sets, two different environments.
Yeah.
It could be 20, 25 degree different, even in the summertime. So now in springtime, when it's kind of a highly transitional time, it makes it all the more be prepared.
Temperature-wise, what are we looking at?
Oh, you're going to see the temperatures, and you're going to be delighted.
Well, let's take a peek.
We've got temperatures all the way up into the 80s. First of all, let me show you the forecast map here, and I'll show you some clouds that are going to be drifting in here as we go throughout the future here in Futurecast. Right now, though, it is sunny, and it does look pretty good. I forgot to put the oil in the machine here to make it go. But what we're looking at here is basically a little approaching system out to the west, and we have a combination of a warm front out west and also a cool front there as well. So that will drive in a small chance of some showers coming your way overnight tonight. We have about a 20% chance of some rain showers happening our way. And then things will really be about a 40 to 50% chance of rainfall as we go throughout the remainder of the forecast. And that goes all the way through, basically through the weekend and into early next week. So the forecast, you're asking about the temperatures. Temperatures on Saturday and Sunday, and I'll keep them around till Monday as well. They start with an 8.
Ooh,
We've
for
got
3
80s.
days in a row.
We've got 80s, and this will be the first time that we've had
We're getting
back-to-back
applause.
80s. Yes,
You're
thank you.
getting applause.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, like I said, I'm just telling you what's coming. 80s both Saturday and Sunday. I think we'll hit mid 80s on Saturday, and we'll stick around the 80s Monday and Tuesday. And this will be the first time we've had back-to-back 80s in Chicago in almost 200 days.
Man.
We have to go all the way back until very late in the year last year.
Wow.
Very late into the summer, early into the fall.
We deserve it.
We do deserve it. Darn it.
We deserve it.
We've suffered enough over the winter.
Yeah.
We've shoveled enough snow.
People are
it's
ready.
It's time for us.
People are ready.
That's what I'm saying. Chicago now. Chicago now.
No, you need one of those.
Oh. Chicago Live. Chicago Live. Live. Monday.
Wrong show.
I got to get my cue cards right.
You need
for the right,
new cue cards. Yeah.
There we go. What are you going to do? Yeah. But it's going to be pretty nice warm temperatures. But if you're going camping out in your little pup tent, which I know you love to camp in a little pup tent.
Right. Can't you tell? Can't you tell?
Watch out for some showers around the area again. Basically, from tomorrow all the way through the end of the 7-day forecast, we've got temperatures that are going to be pretty mild. We're not really going to cool down all that much. The last couple of nights, we've had some very chilly temperatures.
Yes.
Traditionally, we always like to say that Mother's Day is the time period in which we can put our tomato plants and our pepper plants out in the garden. And, those genteel little flowers we can plant. But, this a little bit perhaps of an exception, especially if you're in the northwest suburbs this year, because it has been a little bit frosty.
Yeah, Mike Kaplan up in Gurnee, the greater metroplex of Gurnee, has been having frost this week.
Yes, they have. He was reporting all the way down to 32 degrees. I think it was this morning or yesterday morning. I can't remember which. I keep an eye on that Mike Kaplan.
He's always giving us, more information, so we all kind of keep an eye on him. And of course, he has a different perspective up there, so than most folks right around here. I haven't seen frost, but
no, and hopefully that would be bad if we had frost here, because Mike's closer to the North Pole, so therefore he should be a little colder up there. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Let me ask you before I let you go. When we talk about the rain chances, like over the weekend, I saw one. National map that had this like swath for a risk of severe weather between, I want to say, Friday and Monday, and I know I saw like Iowa and some other places, but then I saw Chicago on there. Did they put too much of a swath on there, or what are we thinking in terms of like, is it just going to be showers, just going to be a little rumble, or do we really need to be prepared?
I never second guess the swath makers. The swath makers, they know what they're doing. But you're right. They kind of have this unsettled pattern. We really have a fundamental pattern change in that we're warmer, we're going to be wetter, and then you're right. There's going to be some severe weather that's going to be out in that area you just described, out in Iowa, Nebraska, kind of down towards Missouri. And at one point over the weekend, we're going to keep an eye on that. It looks like we do have a level one out of 5 that indicates maybe some stronger showers and thunderstorms. And of course, I will be here all weekend long between now and Sunday night to keep you safe and sound.
We appreciate your sacrifice.
I don't know if it's a sacrifice. It's just coming to work. But, sometimes.
Sometimes?
Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah. Well, thank you so much. One of the things that also, before I turn you over, to go back to the 4 o'clock, working on the 4 o'clock, this morning they were doing some emergency drills out on Lake Michigan for preparing. These were just demonstrations for first responders to get ready for more boats to be on the water, more people to be in the water when it is warmer. Do you think, with the temperatures that we're going to see, is that a long enough streak where people would actually be in the water already, or this is like, well, probably still weeks away?
Let me ask you a question. It's going to be 85 degrees on Saturday, and you own a boat. Where are you going to be?
You're
going to be on that
probably
boat.
on the boat.
You're going to be on that boat, especially if it's
probably on the boat.
And can I come on your boat with you?
We always joke in the mornings we can see your boat out there.
Well, the funny thing is, my boat would be a leaky dinghy, But the old saying, it's better to have a friend.
Look,
is that
there.
my boat right there?
Right there, you called it up.
Yeah, no, I would be the guy. I would be the swabby on the deck with the mop, cleaning up after all the architectural tourists going up and down the river. It's better to have a friend with a boat than have a boat.
Yeah. Minus the maintenance.
Yeah, well, exactly right.
Take the maintenance out of life.
Here's one thing. You do bring up a very good point, because a lot of folks are going to be out on the lake, and it's going to be 85 degrees. Keep in mind, the lake temperatures are still, for the most part, in the 40s. We might be seeing some 50s coming up this weekend. 40s, 50s, we're kind of in that area. I haven't checked the lake temperatures this week, but still very cold temperatures. So even though the air temperature is very warm, if you happen to go overboard, or if you have some issues, or even if you decide, I'm going to go swimming, that's going to be very cold. So keep that in mind. It is, even though it's 85, the water temperatures are still very, very cold, and do affect the body differently than if you were doing this in July.
Yeah, super important point. Yeah, super important point. It was great to see all of the first responders out there. I think it was OEMC, the fire department, the Coast Guard. They were all out there this morning out by Navy Pier doing some drills.
Those guys are awesome.
They are great, yeah. And boy, do they come in handy when things do go wrong. And so we appreciate them getting ready already for folks to be out there. Thank you so much for coming up here. We'll let you get back downstairs and prepare for the 4 o'clock. Everybody give us 2 minutes and we'll be back. I'll set you up for where we're going in our final hour here for the day. 3 o'clock right now. Thank you so much if you've been riding with us since 1 o'clock. And if you just got here at 3, there's plenty more ahead. So you're still in the right place. Let me let you know what we have before we turn you over to the 4 o'clock show. You know, it's been a beautiful celebration thus far this year, and we know there will be so many more things to come as the year goes on for the 100th anniversary for Route 66. So we have to go down to Pontiac for the museum there, the Hall of Fame that's there, and check in with their folks to talk about, you know, how people are really taken in history about the Mother Road in this country, and we'll talk to them around 3:45. We also anticipate grabbing on one of our folks here at the station to tell us what is coming up in the 4 and the 5 o'clock newscast, though that should be around 3:30 or so, that we'll be able to get an idea of what's happening downstairs. We'll check in and find out what they're working on as those newscasts come into shape. We have a conversation coming up with CUB, that is the Citizens Utility Board. Really looking forward to that conversation. We've delved into some pretty controversial things throughout our time thus far today. You know, we're talking about the tax breaks for the 1901 project that are proposed. We talked about freezing the sub-minimum wage hike. Those are big talkers. One of the biggest talkers right now has to do with data centers. And so we're talking about, you know, ComEd bills. They're expected to go up very soon. And so the Citizen Utility Board is going to tell us a little bit more about what's on tap, the increase that's on tap, and how they see this, and you know, how they're fighting against it, quite honestly. Also, we're going to start here in this hour with more on an employment fair that is coming up, and it is more than just employment. I mean, they're going to be doing expungement services, and they'll have all types of community resources available to folks on the south side of Chicago who are really looking forward to better days, let's say it that way. We have Paula Dickens, the business manager for Powerhouse Chicago, who is with us right now. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. Good afternoon.
Tell us about Powerhouse Chicago first.
So Powerhouse Chicago, currently we are one church in 2 locations. We're in Washington Heights community. We're also in the Posen community. So Powerhouse has been in existence since 1991. Where our pastor, Archbishop William Hudson III, leads the Powerhouse along with his lovely wife, Pastor Andrea Hudson.
And so it sounds like you all look to feed people both spiritually, but then also in many other ways. And this event falls into that category. Tell us a little bit about putting it together.
So this is our 5th year of doing the Powerhouse Employment and Resource Fair. And so for the last 5 years, we've been seeking to provide opportunities, not just employment opportunities, but also resources for those in the community in the Chicagoland area. We understand and we recognize that there is a great need for families and individuals who are facing challenges related to employment, housing, healthcare, and legal issues. So our goal is to provide a one-stop opportunity where people can access both jobs and lifetime changes to their situations. So we believe the church should be a place of hope and tangible solutions.
That word access means a lot. Talk a little bit about that.
So the reason that we think that this is a great opportunity, and we're doing it in the heart of the Chicagoland area on the south side of Chicago, where most of the individuals in the surrounding area may not necessarily have access to these type of resources in one place. So we feel that it's very beneficial for us to have all of these resources housed in one place where they can come. It's free parking. They don't have to get on, public transportation to go downtown Chicago, or, to go into the suburban area far out where they have to get the resources. So access is very important. And we believe that this is a central location that anyone can get to.
And that's 944 West 103rd Street for anyone who is watching right now or who may see this later. What types of companies, how many companies are going to be there?
So that's a great question. We have over 50 plus organizations that'll be there. IDES, which is the Illinois Department of Human Services, will be there. We have CPS. We have, I have a whole list of them, but we have over 50 organizations that will be there. And so they will be hiring on the spot. It's not like you have to wait and then come back and, they're hiring on the spot. So there's a possibility that you could leave with a job. So we are asking that you bring your resume. We're asking that you bring your winning attitude, that you bring, everything that is your identification, so that when you do interview, you're ready to receive what is being offered at that time.
Mm-hmm. And
okay, here's the list here. Sunrise Transportation, and these are just to name a few. Against All Odds, BMO Bank, Advocates for Community, Olive Harvard College, Illinois Department of Human Services as a state, and Department of Human Services Community Resource Center will also be there. So not only will we be providing employment, we'll also be providing training and things like that, where you can set up an appointment to get. How do you interview? Sometimes people don't necessarily know how to interview, so they're going to be doing a lot of that on site. The Federal Bureau of Prisons will be there. The clerk of the circuit court will be there. The Chicago Fire Department, and the list goes on.
Mm-hmm. I want to break down some of the issues that this community is facing. Why you're having it, where you're having it, starting with the unemployment rate.
Absolutely. And if you've been watching the news, you know that some major companies are folding and a lot of people are out of jobs. They're looking for employment. So this job fair is not just for individuals looking for employment. This is also for individuals looking for better opportunities. Individuals who, as we all know, the SNAP benefits, there is issues with that. And so we're just putting these resources and making these services available, employers available, so that all those who want a job, who are seeking jobs, who are seeking better employment, have access to those resources.
You mentioned the SNAP benefits being cut as well. Why offer, and I'm not asking this personally, I'm asking this for anyone who's watching, why offer expungement services?
Well, there are a lot of individuals who have made mistakes in life, and our mistakes don't define us. They define our past, but they don't define our future. So we feel like giving individuals opportunities to expunge their records as well as seal them will give them a fresh start and enable them to take advantage of some of the benefits that are going to be presented there, and future benefits. So I think it's very important that we set them up for their future, set them up for hope. Really, we're issuing hope, not just on the spiritual side, but on the natural side. Because when you make a mistake, you feel like that's got to follow you or define you for the rest of your life, and it doesn't have to. So that's why we feel that this expungement and sealing of records is very essential.
And so that's why the Bureau of Prisons and the Cook County State's Attorney's Office will be there.
Absolutely, but they're also there as employers looking for individuals looking for work as well.
Okay.
So they're one of our employers who is also going to have a table there to get resumes and seek individuals who want to work for them.
Can anybody come out?
Anybody. It's absolutely free, and everyone is invited.
And how long is it going to be going on?
Absolutely. So it'll be this Friday, February the 15th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And the employers will be there bright and early. So we suggest that you get there bright and early and be ready to interview, be ready to submit your resumes, be ready to take advantage of what's being offered.
Oh, I'm also seeing you all have a medical mobile health station that'll be there as well.
Yes, we will have other resources. We'll have the medical mobile there who will be doing health screenings. So it's a very great resource, and employment fair. And so we'll have some great things there for everybody to take advantage of. So it's completely free. Like I stated, we have free parking. It's open to the public.
And do people have to register for this, or can they just walk
No,
in?
you don't have to register. You can come. You can come. You don't have to register. You don't have to worry about that. If you get up Friday morning and say, hey, I want to go, the doors are open. Come on in. You do not have to register.
So doing it 5 years, I'm sure you've seen some things. Tell me a little bit about, one, how you feel after an event like this, but two, have you all had a way of like tracking some of the people who have come in and to know how it changed their lives?
Absolutely. So you don't have to register to come, but when you get there, we do take some minimal information so that we can keep track of you and let you know about other job opportunities or other employment and resource fairs that are coming up. So I was doing a radio interview yesterday, and I let them know that we have seen the upwards of 500 people come through the doors during the resource and employment fair. And I was also letting them know that over 60 individuals last year left with employment. They left with a job. So it's not just, an empty fair where you feel like you're just going, or is it going to really make a difference? I suggest that you come, you put your best suit on or whatever you got that's good, look like you're ready to interview, look like you're ready to receive what's there for you.
How many people have come out before, like when you all have had?
We've had close to 500 people to show up. Last year was our biggest year. And every year it gets bigger and bigger. Every year more and more people attend the fair, and we're trying to get the word out to let the Chicagoland area know that this is happening. It's happening on the south side of Chicago. It's totally free. You don't have to register. So we want to let everyone know so they have plenty of opportunity to participate.
So if you all have had 500 before, how many are you hoping for this year?
Hey, listen, if we can get 1,000, I'm good with that. Let's double the number. It's a whole lot of people looking for employment and resources. So we can accommodate that. So they'll be giving free food as well, a little snack for them while they're there, if they're there all day, stop by, So we're trying to make this as accommodating and as convenient as possible.
Well, thank you for what you all are doing. It clearly is blessing a lot of people and has been for the last 5 years. Here's to many more years. But I hope tomorrow is I hope you are bursting at the seams with people who come out.
Absolutely. We hope so as well.
All right. You take care. Thank you for your time.
You too. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Everybody remember that is tomorrow from 10 a.m. to 2, 944 West 103rd Street, where you can go in and maybe things aren't going all, the way you would like them to in your life right now, but you can come out with hope and the possibility of a job, the promise, or the pathway to better days ahead. 3:13, give us 2 minutes. We'll be back. Welcome back, everyone. 3:15 and affordability has been one of the greatest topics of conversation this year when we see gas prices going up and the ripple effects that come from that, whether it's the food in the grocery store, fertilizer for the farmers. I mean, so many different things. You see the cost creeping up here, and that includes your ComEd bills. ComEd electric customers are expected to see at least a 12% jump in monthly charges starting in June. So just a few more weeks. And we have Sarah Moskowitz from the Citizens Utility Board here to talk a little bit more about that pain that people are getting ready to experience and the conversation surrounding it. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
So if the average monthly residential bill is $107, where does that take us very soon?
Well, it depends a lot on, we don't know what the final price is going to be. We're not going to know that for a couple of days, but we know that the ComEd supply price is going to go up by about a cent per kilowatt hour. It's currently about, all told, about 9.5 cents a kilowatt hour. It's going to go up to about 10.5, we believe. So the impact that this is going to have on your bill will vary according to how much you use and what those final numbers shake out to be. And this is 100% the result of what's been going on at the wholesale market. If you ever look at your ComEd bill, it's divided into two sections. You got the supply side of the bill and the delivery side of the bill. The delivery is where the utility makes its money off of. The supply, that's a cost that's sent down to us from the wholesale market operator that runs these auctions to procure our power. And that has been going through the roof. The first big jump we saw was same time last year. And that is almost entirely because of data center related demand for electricity that's been hitting the system.
Expound on that, because these data centers have been super controversial, and one of the biggest points of contention has to be with people saying, and yes, environmental concerns are there, but the rising cost for everyone who lives around the data centers. I mean, that's been a huge point of contention.
Yeah, so that data centers are a real challenge, largely because of the amount of electricity that they use, and especially the hyperscale data centers that you're seeing come online now that are largely being used to run all of the advanced machine learning supporting AI applications. And so these are gigantic facilities. We don't have a ton yet in Illinois, but they have been popping up across the region in other parts of the grid that serves us. And so it might not even necessarily be the data center that's being built in your community that's driving up your power prices. It's these data centers are wreaking havoc on the energy markets that are operated on a regional basis. And the challenge is in, there's a lot of challenges that go along with it, but part of it is that there are so many different pieces that go into your electric bill. There's the local distribution, there's the generation of the power, and then there's those high voltage power lines that get the power from the power plant to us. And there are ways that data centers can drive up the prices for all of us at all of those levels. And all of those levels are overseen by different governmental entities. And so it's really, solving this problem is going to require action at all levels, at the state level, at the regional level, at the federal level, if we're really going to make sure that data centers are actually paying 100% of the costs that they're causing.
Yeah, I mean, and you said we don't have a ton. Obviously, that's kind of relative. ComEd says there are more than 80 data centers in northern Illinois alone using massive amounts of power. And in their state filing, they said that there were another 75 proposed commercial projects in the region that would also be large electricity users. So if we are an ever-growing technologically society, how do we support that growth but also protect our wallets.
Yeah, well, and you're right. It is all relative. I'm from Northern Virginia, which is really ground zero for data center development, but they definitely do exist in Illinois. And the grid operator, ComEd, the local utility, are all saying that we have all these projects that are in the queue to come online. Now, we don't know how many of those projects are actually going to show up, and that's part of the issue. Is that one of these facilities applies to interconnect the system. And so all of these upgrades and investments might be made to ensure that the system can accommodate them. But then what if they never show up? And that leaves the rest of us holding the bag for those costs that were incurred. And so there have been some developments at the state level to lessen the risk that the rest of us will be paying for these facilities that were purely speculative and don't actually get built. But the problem is, when you look at the system-wide level, even these facilities that aren't being built, just the threat of them getting built is driving up our prices. And that's part of what makes this issue so sticky. So it's really about the extent to which these facilities are requiring more power generation, more transmission investments, more local grid distribution investments, and then making sure that they pay their fair share, and that regular everyday ComEd customers like you and I are not covering their costs.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. That hasn't happened yet. We haven't seen. We're not convinced that the mechanisms are in place to make sure that we're not covering those costs.
And, ComEd says they don't produce the energy. They say the price that they pay for electricity is driven by, or we pay for electricity, is driven by anticipated future demand and set by Pennsylvania-based grid operator PJM. So there are multiple levels to this.
That's right. And so this price increase that we're talking about today, that's going to go into effect on June 1st, ComEd is right. That price increase does not go to ComEd. That price increase is the result of market outcomes. Kind of that part of our electricity, there's the delivery of the electricity to your house, and then there's the cost of the juice itself. And this June at least, that's what's going up. And that is set by these markets that are run by PJM, market operator that is based in Pennsylvania. And PJM has come under a lot of fire of late. Elected officials, as diverse as the governor of Illinois and the president of the United States, have been critical of how PJM is doing business. And I know that entity is in the midst of looking really hard at how they function their markets and what they need to do to adapt in order to accommodate data center related electrical demand.
And do you think that, like a lot of technology, we're just operating from behind on this, which keeps us from being able to really get ahead for the actual everyday person?
Yeah, I think this issue in particular leaves a lot of folks scrambling. We have been trucking along with our regulatory structure for electric utilities, regulatory structure for our power system for decades. And suddenly you have these customers want to come online, and some of them want to be able to use as much electricity as a small or mid-sized city. And our system was not built to accommodate that kind of extreme growth all at once in one place like that. And it's really testing our structures here. And we can argue over the extent to which the people in charge of those things saw it coming or didn't. They may have seen something coming, but I don't think they really saw the scale of data center related usage that we've been seeing. So we're playing catch up here, and all of these regulators are playing catch up. But in the meantime, everyday residential electric customers are suffering the consequences.
Yeah, and so just on a final note, what more is the Citizens Utility Board doing to address this?
Well, there's a lot to do. There have been calls in Illinois. There's some legislation that we support that would do a lot to make sure that those costs aren't passed on to regular customers like you and I. If you are worried about the impact that these facilities are having on your power bills, you should definitely call your state elected officials. Also, your folks in Washington too, to let them know that this matters to you and they need to take action because inaction is costing us even more.
Is there any conversation about even a cap being a possibility?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
Is there any possibility or any conversation, any discussion happening even about a cap to make sure it doesn't, get too far out of control?
I've got bad news for you. There already is a cap. And these elevated rates that we're going to be experiencing in June 1st are the result of our having hit that cap. So advocates like Cub and others are always advocating for these kinds of guardrails to be in place. And it's just a matter of putting political pressure on the folks making those decisions that we need this to happen or else it's just not going to be tenable for their constituents, although I think that's arguably the case already.
All right. Sarah, thank you so much. Sarah Moskowitz with Citizens Utility Board. We appreciate being able to talk to you today.
Thanks for having me anytime.
Mm-hmm. All right, everyone, it's 3:27 right now. We're going to take 2 minutes and then we'll be back getting us set up for our later newscasts. Welcome back, everyone. It's 3:30 right now, and we're getting an update, or preview, I should say, on what's coming up in our later newscast. And we have our 5 p.m. producer, Sloan Salerno, back with us. Hey, Sloan.
Hello.
All right, what are you all working on?
All right, our reporters have some great stories today. We'll start with Casey. Hers is fun. So there was a guy fishing in the Chicago River, and he caught an American eel. And apparently it's really rare. This is only there's been like one other time that it's been found in the river. So she's talking to him. She's talking to friends of the Chicago River, other than, it's gross that we might be swimming. Well, no one, I guess, is swimming in the river. But if they're in the lake, you're swimming with them. But what does it mean for the ecosystem? Things like that. So she's going to be talking about that, which is really cool. And then we have Brett. He is sitting down with Mayor Brandon Johnson. He's marking 3 years, so he might only have 1 year left, and he's just kind of going over his accomplishments. He talks about his affordable housing initiatives, crime being lower. And then Brett also asks him, what are your biggest misses? Where do you feel like things have gone wrong? And so Mayor Johnson will answer that at 4.
Did it sound like a campaign, or did it sound like a goodbye?
That's a good question. I don't know. We'll have to hear. But he'll have a different angle at 5, so we'll have to wait and see what that is. So he's going to have a whole bunch of sound, and we have the full interview online too if anyone wants to listen to it in its entirety. And then Lauren is talking with Living Fresh Market. It's a grocery store, about how at the beginning of the month there were changes made to SNAP benefits. So obviously that's impacting people who get the benefits, but how is that trickle down happening now? Grocery stores, they're saying prices are going up, and that can also affect other customers. Are they going to pay their employees? And then there's also an event they're doing on Saturday, so she's going to have all that information for us too. And then Leslie is on the east side, where a Little League is warning parents because there was an attempted abduction of 2 children. And it's caught on camera. You can see the car following them. And so she is talking to the mom of one of the kids who was in the attempted abduction. And then the Little League president is also going to talk to her. And so a lot of parents are going to want to hear that one and, what they can do, how to stay alert, things like that.
Yeah. Did the attempted abduction happen like right after a practice, right after a game?
I'm not sure if it was right after a game, but I know it was right at where the Little League fields are. So I assume they were there for a game or something, or practice or something. And then Joni is doing a follow on that Indiana gambling ring. So all 22 defendants were in court today, and they all pleaded not guilty. And one of the main people, Jimmy the Greek, he actually tried getting his arraignment delayed because he has a new attorney, but that didn't work. They're all ordered to appear. And so she's going to have an update on that, and maybe an update on where that Indiana sheriff plays into this, who spent all that money at one of the restaurants. And so we'll hear from her. And then Tia, there's this designer a prom dress designer, who told a bunch of people at the last minute, I can't finish your orders, I'm having a mental health issue. And then people broke into her shop overnight. And so this is not the first time it's happened. Tia actually did a story on this same woman in 2024. And Tia talked to one of the moms who told her that she spent altogether, this is not just on the dress, but $16,000. And so, people are out a lot of money. No one really knows what to do. People were just kind of taking dresses out of the store when they broke into it overnight. And Terrence's story is kind of also related to that, because he's talking to, now people are kind of stepping in and donating dresses to people. And this has always sort of been a thing, but now it's kind of more amplified. And he's talking to one woman who is giving away her daughter's old dress. He spent all this money at a dress, they wear it once, like you might as well give it new life and give it to someone else. And so those are both going to be great stories.
Yeah, I saw the videos this morning when I woke up from the prom dress store, and those folks were, understandably very upset about the message. And I saw the message that she sent them talking about mental health. And you kind of, without the context that Tia has, you kind of think like, oh man, that's a really tough position to be in. Like, if you are going through something extremely personal, and yeah, they've got something that is coming up that's super important to them, these young people getting ready for prom. But if you are personally struggling with something, and you can't meet that expectation, what do you do? But
yeah, it's a good
knowing
question.
that she's done it before puts it in a different light.
Yeah, knowing that this is a similar situation to something that happened 2 years ago, it makes you question, sort of the business that she was running, and you just feel for these people who some might have prom tomorrow and now they have nothing to wear.
Yeah,
and then I'll go over some of my across America stories.
Okay,
we've got some good ones today.
Love those.
So we have 2 plane crash. Well, one is an emergency landing. It's caught on camera. This truck is driving down a highway in Arizona, and you see the plane just come and emergency land right in front of their truck. They have to swerve out of the way. It's crazy video.
Oh my goodness.
And then there was a plane crash in Florida, and this one's actually kind of scary to me because last month my fiance and I flew from Florida to the Bahamas in a single engine airplane, and this plane crashed on its way to the Bahamas from Florida in the ocean. They were all in one life raft, 11 people in the ocean waiting for hours for people to come rescue
Oh
them.
my goodness.
And so they all survived, thank God. And then one of the people who did survive, we have a good sound from her talking about, she said, I really didn't think we were going to make it. Like there was a long time. And they were actually saved by, now I can't remember if it was, I think it was U.S. Air Force. They were on a training mission and they found them and saved them.
They just so happened to be in that area on a training mission.
Yeah, a crazy story. And then there's another one in Alabama where this two minor league baseball teams were playing, and this guy just hits a ball out to right field and it gets stuck in the ground. Like they have to dig it out of the ground, and it led to an in the park home run. So that's fun. That one's fun video. And so yeah, those are all great stories coming up at 5.
Oh my goodness, you're covering some of everything.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sloan, for letting us know what's coming up. But thus far, what's your favorite story of the day?
I think my favorite is Casey's the eel. I love a good animal story, and I love a rare animal story. And so I think that is going to be a good one.
Yeah, we chatted a bit with her. Yep, there it is. We chatted a bit with her in the 1 o'clock hour when she was getting ready to go do the interviews. And I'm with you. Like, I was so ready to hear what the experts shared with her about what they think about this eel, you know, how they think it got there. What information can they glean from even a picture of it? All of those things. I can't wait to hear because it's so odd.
And you think that like rivers and lakes have less scary animals in them because they're freshwater, but there are some scary things in there.
Listen, I told her, and I'll say it again, it just makes you wonder about what else is in that river.
Very true. Not that anyone probably would want to swim in it anyway, but this is not changing anyone's mind to go in it.
It might be doubling down on the rumors.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good show.
Thank you.
3:37, everyone. We'll be right back. All right, everyone, 3:41 right now, and you can still get your kicks on Route 66. Or more specifically, you can get information and a good time at the Illinois Route 66 Hall of Fame and Museum. It's 100-year celebration this year for the Mother Road, and we have Liz Vincent, the Director of Community Enrichment for the museum, who is joining us today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, Liz, has the interest picked up this year as we've hit 100 years?
Well, here in Pontiac, the interest has always been there, especially with international travel. But I have to tell you, this year is going to be a record-breaking year for Pontiac.
That's a beautiful thing. Tell me about thus far, like where people have come from, like the trips that they've made to get to you all in Pontiac.
Well, we have a group from New Zealand that comes a couple of times every year, a tour operator from there. Literally, you name it. Germany, Italy, Spain, all over Europe. We have a lot of Asian travelers as well, Australia, New Zealand, like I said. But then, of course, there's all this renewed interest around Route 66 because of the centennial. And so we've seen a great uptick in our domestic travel as well.
That's awesome. So when they get to, all of these visitors, get to the museum, walk us through imaginatively. Like, what do you all have there?
Well, Pontiac is very unique. We started really leaning into our Route 66 heritage well over 20 years ago after the road was decommissioned. And so our Illinois Route 66 Hall of Fame and Museum is actually housed within our former City Hall and Fire Department building.
Wow.
We've repurposed that building. It's a museum complex. It has 2 museums, 5 exhibits, a great gift shop, and that's just the beginning of what you'll see when you come to Pontiac.
You said it's just the beginning. I'm seeing there are thousands of pieces of historic memorabilia. Tell me a little bit more.
Yeah, so when you go into the Illinois Route 66 Hall of Fame and Museum, there are cases set up, and they have memorabilia from all the communities from Chicago all the way to the Chain of Rocks Bridge, which was the bridge that you would use to cross over into Missouri. All those communities are highlighted. There are also Hall of Fame members. People and businesses and places are inducted every year into the Illinois Association Route 66 Association Hall of Fame. And so they're honored there as well. One of the most unique things that we have is the VW bus that was formerly owned by Bob Waldmeyer. He was an artist. He lived and worked on Route 66 his whole entire life. And he passed away in 2009. And he was actually the inspiration for the character Fillmore in the movie Cars. It's a pretty interesting story. If you come to the museum, you can learn more about it. But Bob appreciated what Pontiac was doing with our Route 66 heritage and with our public art. And so he had his VW bus displayed at the museum, along with his infamous land yacht, which is a 1966 converted school bus that he traveled all up and down the road in.
I'm sure there are so many stories that we don't know about Route 66. And maybe tell us one more thing that really shocks people, startles people, or stays with people.
Well, in Pontiac, I always have to mention Rose. So Rose works for us. She has worked for us for 18 years now. She works at the museum, and she is 87 years old.
Oh.
And, Rose will tell you, she will be the first one to tell you that she doesn't care to travel the whole entire route because everybody that's traveling the route comes to meet her. So I always think that's pretty neat, but I think it's also a good example as to what you find when you travel all 2,400 miles. It's not just the places and it's not just the photos, it's really the people. And I think that is why for so long it was this romanticized version of what the Great American Road Trip was. So I think that's why we saw so many European and other international travelers, But I think now, the way the world is now, it's just really nice to get back to that human connection and learn more about one another.
Yeah, and I think also getting to some places that you may not have put on your list before. This kind of draws your attention to make the trip to some new spots. Pontiac would be one of those if you've never been to Pontiac. So if someone has never been to Pontiac, tell all of us a little bit about the town.
Yeah, you just showed a picture of our mural. That was our original modern day mural. It was painted in 2007, and that became a huge attraction. I think it's actually, pre-Instagram that we had that mural. And you can actually stand on bricks from the original Route 66 in front of that, which I think is just the coolest thing. We saw the power of public art when we put that mural up, and we ended up adding an additional 27 murals all throughout our downtown.
Oh, wow.
You can do a walking mural tour. It's beautiful. A day like today would be gorgeous to be out there. And then we also have the Pontiac Oakland Automobile Museum, which is also Pontiac Motors. It was founded in 1926. 1926 seemed to have a lot of things happening that year. So we have a lot to celebrate this year. And then we also have the Museum of the Gilding Arts, which is a little bit of a different kind of thing that you wouldn't expect in a Route 66 community, but it is a beautiful museum dedicated to the art of gilding and how gold leaf and other precious metal leaf is made.
How much does this, all of these places for visitors to come and check out play into the overall economy there?
I personally see the impact all the time. Our department is funded, because of that. It does have a significant impact in our community. It also helps keep our downtown and our downtown businesses, vital. They are amazing down here. So, I think even if people in Chicago just wanted to get a taste of what Route 66 would be like, I would invite them to come for a weekend, experience our small town charm, and learn about what, Route 66 is like. Get that little taste and maybe make the trek then on their own sometime later.
Do you have some special things planned for the rest of the year?
We do, yes. So we just had our kickoff of the season on May 2nd and 3rd, Red Carpet Corridor Weekend. That happens every year, though, the first full weekend in May. And we also have something called Stilettos on Steel.
Oh.
It's an all-female motorcycle group. They're going to be doing all of Illinois Route 66. We're going to be hosting them in July. We have a Divco Milk Truck Convention. They're also celebrating 100 years, Divco Milk Trucks. They're having their convention here in July. And then we have a huge Pontiacs in Pontiac car show. As I said, 100 years this year for Pontiac Motors. So we're going to do a double celebration. That is in September. Probably our biggest thing that we're doing, though, is we're reimagining the area where you just showed where the mural is, the Route 66 mural. Mm-hmm. That is turning into Centennial Plaza. Oh. It is going to be this beautiful area, pedestrian friendly, although people will still be able to pull their cars up and take that iconic photo in front of that mural. It'll also have a shelter built for Bob's land yacht. And then we'll also have some neon, some art, some wayfinding, all of that tucked in right there behind the Illinois Route 66 Museum.
How cool is it to you to be a part of the centennial year?
It's amazing. I remember 8 years ago talking about it, and my boss at the time, who has since retired, saying it's going to be here before we know it. And here we are. But I'm so happy that I'm here to be a part of it. And I have to say the enthusiasm of all the travelers, it's so contagious. It's just so neat.
Well, it sounds like an amazing opportunity to lead people through this time in history and to look back, but also as everyone gears up for the next 100 years. Thank you so much for joining us here on the show today and telling us a little bit about Pontiac, but then also the museum. And I hope that you will have way more. I mean, yes, just as many, but even more visitors this year who really want to take in all that you have to offer.
Yeah, thank you. I hope so as well. And I hope, like you just said, that this is just the launch into the next 100 years.
All right. Happy celebrating.
Thank you.
Take care.
Have a great day.
You too. It's about 3:52, everyone. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. 3:54, and before we get out of here to turn you over to the 4 o'clock news, I want to take a look at how the stock market finished up for the day, because yesterday was kind of all over the place and not too much good on the screen. But this is what you didn't want to miss because today has been a marked difference. I mean, we've kind of been spinning our wheels as to how? Because a lot of the things that you would think of, the major things that kind of tug at the market, are still going on, i.e. the war in Iran. But stocks are higher today. The Dow Jones Industrial retaking 50,000 after some strong earnings here I'm seeing from Cisco Systems, and following that key meeting between President Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping. Okay, so as you're seeing here, we finished the day up over 370 points here for the Dow Jones. The S&P 500 climbed 0.77%, and the NASDAQ Composite gained 0.88%, all today, and scoring some all-time intraday highs and record closes for the NASDAQ and for the S&P 500 here. I mentioned Cisco, and I'm seeing here Cisco and NVIDIA, as well as Amazon, have been a big part of the comeback today as well. So not only the geopolitical types of things, but this technology, and these big tech companies that have supported the Dow's comeback today. Cisco soaring 47% in the past 2 months. Amazon and Nvidia gaining 28 and 30% respectively. And again, all of these things going in the right direction when we still have the Middle East issues going on, but we hope to see more of this tomorrow. I guess that's what we can all say at this point. Nice to see some green on the screen. Give us 2 minutes and we'll be back to close out the show. All right, welcome back, everyone. Thanks so much for being here with us for another day of Chicago Live. We certainly hope that you'll be right back with us from 1 to 4 p.m. coming up tomorrow. Now, you've heard a lot about what's coming up next at 4 o'clock. One of those key pieces will be a sit-down interview with Mayor.
Cuss your baby daddy out when you're hungry? Now, I don't think she's saying it's because she's hungry. I think there's something. You think it was more than that? We'll see what happens with Cardi tomorrow. Exactly. And we will see you then.
Live from Chicago, this is Fox 32 News at 4.
And here's what's happening around here today. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson's term is set to expire